Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today, and we have a brand new circuit on the F1 2021 game, and it's a brand spanking new one, because it is Jeddah, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So this is officially the third and final track DLC coming to F1 2021. We've had Portimao, Imola, and now we've got Saudi Arabia here. Obviously, we're going to Jeddah in 2 races' time. It's still under construction in real life, but virtually it is here and ready for F1 2021. So we're going to dive in today with some gameplay. This is going to be, first of all, my very first lap and outing on the circuit, and then we're going to have a race as well, 25%, to see what it's like under the floodlights, because this is going to be a night race. Right now, though, in time trial, looking at the circuit in daytime, and yeah, this is legitimately my very first time going out onto this circuit. Kind of odd to finally see it in the flesh on the official F1 game, because if you followed along last year, I did play this track on Assetto Corsa, but this is very, very different. You know, this is the full fleshed out circuit on the official F1 game. Into turn 1, it's a tight left-hander, very, very tight in fact, and then another tight right-hander into, then underneath this kind of bridge slash grandstand, it would seem. Then we've got a very technical and tight part of the circuit. This left-hander I completely miss, as I just didn't spot the brake zone there, so you can tell this is literally my actual first lap. Want to kind of just show you guys what it was like going out for the first time here, trying to, you know, maybe overdrive a little bit, trying to suss out where the hell we're going, really. So that entire part of the circuit is so, you know, the direction change is so quick, and I think, you know, once it got up to speed, I think what it was more so kind of staying in 5th or 6th gear, rolling the car through, dab of the brakes here and there to shift the car left or right, and then this is the back end part of the circuit, the kind of second half, if you will, because it's a very actually tight circuit in terms of the track map. And then there again, losing the back end, off camber, that right-hander. Eventually, though, we start to get a bit of a groove going, albeit with some off-track, you know, excursions here and there. So here we go now through the first 2 turns. Again, we saw that. I was able to actually do that first time quite well. But now, here's the proper way to take it through. Dab of the brakes, down 2 gears. Still carried a little bit too much speed there, so we went wide, but then trying to keep the car in the middle of the circuit, keep it tight on the left-hand side, and then it's a very tricky right-hander. Was kind of blind to see where the brake zone is, and then rolling the car a little bit wide. Gonna have to use the curbs, I think, a lot on this circuit to kind of keep within the confines of the track, if you know what I mean. Like, you're going to be riding the curb like a skateboard, like I like to liken it a lot to, a lot of the time. And then we come through what is a very cambered left-hander there, that kind of hairpin style corner, but not even a hairpin, just a banked kind of corner, subtle banking, then through, not spinning the car this time. Little bit of a frame issue here on my recording, I must say, but we now go through just what is a very quick section. I think for the most part, at the very end of the lap, it's just very, you know, quick but subtle, you know, change the direction. So that's why they're kind of saying that this circuit's going to be the fastest street circuit we've ever had in Formula 1. Because even though it is a street circuit, you know, it's a tight road, you're going at such quick speeds because the direction change is not too massive, very subtle, so the car just flows through. But those are my first laps in time trial, but now we're going to dive straight into a race gameplay, 25%. So this is now the proper night time when the race is actually going to begin. I'm going to delve in and see how we can do from the back of the grid.
Greetings and welcome to Jeddah for what promises to be a sensational slice of world-class motorsport. We're off to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. An interesting circuit, this one, the newest on the Formula 1 calendar, and like most street circuits, it's sure to present the drivers with an interesting technical challenge. Some challenging turns for the drivers to negotiate as well, and at the same time they're going to have to manage their tyres very carefully in this heat. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are 3 main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
So we're going to head straight into this race then. As I said, we're at the back of the grid, driving as Leclerc in the Ferraris. We go to 5 red lights for our very first ever race here in Jeddah for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It's going to be a very hectic turn 1. I thought I'll just back out of it initially, then go down the inside and try and get to the inside for turn 1. Very fine margins with Schumacher on the inside there. You know, the AI were trying to go 3 wide, but that corner's so tight, you're going to have to eventually filter down to at least just 2 wide. And then to this very technical and sharp part of the circuit, I'm going to say, because it's such a sharp direction change, left, right, trying to get the right sort of, not even brake input, it's really the throttle. Like, you're just trying to modulate the throttle as you go through that section, and it's tricky when you've got other cars around you more so, because obviously, especially when the Ferrari versus the kind of the slower cars, Alfa Romeo, Williams, so trying to get caught, not get caught out a little bit because they brake maybe a little bit early or lift off a little bit earlier. But we're through eventually now on Raikkonen on the outside of that kind of banked left-hander, which is actually really nice. I didn't know that that corner was going to be that banked, because I think on the version I tried on Assetto Corsa last year wasn't as banked there, so kind of a nice surprise in a way on that left-hander. And now we're looking to line up Nicholas Latifi through this quick left-hander down up to 5th gear, and then get the power down as early as we can and commit through that right-hander, which is completely blind, but you kind of get surprised at how easy it is actually to take flat in the F1 cars. And now drag race down into the hairpin, late on the brakes, and we're going to get Latifi there. That's definitely going to be a place for some action, some dive bombs in real life, I can already tell. And then we get a good run on Lance Stroll. His rain light flashing momentarily, so maybe harvesting a tiny bit, but then into turn 1 he's deploying, so we can't really do much in the ways of making a move there. But then on the exit of turn 2, I was very surprised, getting a good run there, taking a lot of curb, I must say, though, admittedly. So I don't know how the FI definitely in real life going to have to be very strict on track limits there, because there I definitely probably extended the track a bit too much to get the run on the Aston Martin. And then here again, tricky, just modulating throttle. Really nice right-hander though, to the point where I nearly pushed Russell. I do push Russell through that next left-hander because I was so committed to the blind right, where you're just kind of turning in and hoping you don't hit the wall on the inside and you don't see the next corner until you're past the apex of that right-hander, basically. So, you know, it's gonna, you know, there's gonna be a lot of time to be found on this circuit, I think, as you get more and more comfortable with, you know, committing so blindly to the corner. And by the end of lap number 2 on to 3, we caught up to this train now, tail-ended by Esteban Ocon there, Tsunoda in the middle, then you got Vettel Alonso up ahead. Good run, Ocon taking a very defensive line. So, as I've said before, good to see the AI on these newer circuits being really aggressive, and I still maintain the fact that I think the AI are better on some of the newer circuits, the F1 game, because I think there's still some legacy coding of like the racing lines and how aggressive they are on the older circuits, whereas in these new ones they obviously retrain the AI as best they can, but on the new ones I think the training for the AI is so much better. As Ocon, you know, obviously I got past him because I'm in the Ferrari versus the Alpine, but you know, if you're at equal pace with the car, that was a very harsh defensive move from Ocon to try and hold the inside line. And Tsunoda here can't get past him initially, then have to wait to the left-hander, but finding already a lot of confidence on that banking because of that banker and the camber you have. You can go a lot later on the brakes, kind of take a higher line, take varied lines, I think you're going to find in real life for sure by some of the drivers to get this speed, you know, get on the power early maybe. And then speaking of getting power early, we get the jump on Alonso here a little bit, but just can't quite find the overspeed to make a move into this next left-hander. You have to be really careful not trying to send it there. You know, it was very, very tempting, but I knew that I wasn't going to get the space because you immediately go into this next fast right-hander onto the kind of back. It's not straight, but the back kind of kinks in towards the hairpin, where we have DRS now for the second time. Can't quite make anything happen into the hairpin on the inside, but the outside, having a look at Fernando Alonso, get the drive. It's a really good drive, and now we're chasing on to smashing Vettel, but Alonso sticks with me with the DRS. We're gaining on Vettel, and it's going to be 3 wide into turn 1. Already a 3 wide move happening on day 1, race 1 at Jeddah here for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We get Sebastian Vettel. Alonso, the wily old fox, re-overtakes me and gets Vettel, but then we'll get Fernando eventually into the left-hander, little bit wide again. As I said, I think in real life the FI are going to have to be very, very strict with some of these track limits in terms of, you know, there will be drivers going very wide, fully on the curb. They're going to have to be careful about that. But another look, a replay look at this, 3 wide into turn 1. The AI, as I said, aggressive there. Alonso able to re-overtake me and actually also get Vettel as well in one foul swoop. But we are going to get Alonso then obviously under that kind of, well, I say bridge, but it's a grandstand as well. So kind of mental that there's going to be a grandstand in a bridge section with actual, you know, seats you can see. So that's going to be a pretty crazy vantage point, I would say. 4 turns 1 and 2. But anyway, getting back to the task at hand. Lap number 5 then, chasing after our teammate Carlos Sainz. It's a medium, it's a soft to medium, the strategy here apparently. There was the option to go to hard tyre, so I don't know in terms of tyre wear, like Crofty said in the commentary for the intros, maybe because of the higher temperatures, the tyres are going to be quite an issue, but because it's a street circuit as well at the same time, maybe the actual abrasion is not going to be that great. Remember though, in real life, compared to the game, in real life, because it's a new track surface and the track is literally going to be built just in time for the Grand Prix, they're allegedly saying, I think the grip level is going to be quite low. And so that may affect also in terms of, you know, maybe the abrasion's just not that high, but at the same time, the tyres don't bite in, so there's a lot of sliding, so maybe the tyre will be high for that. Anyway, we get a lovely little battle going on with our fellow Ferrari there. Nice switchback though on Sainz into the first 2 turns to get up into P7, then are now trying to chase after Ricciardo, bridging that gap on lap number 6, closing up to, well, what is Ferrari's main rivals in the championship right now, McLaren. Ricciardo defensive, we've got DRS, but just not enough overspeed to fully make a move. But because this hairpin is so, it's a hairpin, but it's so massive and there's so much room on the outside there that I think you're going to find some people able to make a move in the second half of the hairpin in a way, because if you tighten up the line, I feel like you can get a good squirt on the throttle and try and get a good exit. In the end though, we get it done into turn 1 instead, just about slow down the car. That turn 1's kind of deceiving. It's so inviting to go late on the brakes, but because it tightens up and almost goes back on itself a little bit, you have to really slow it down for the second turn. The pit lane entry, bit awkward. Nearly didn't get it slowed down there because it tightens up into the right left. But we just about slow it down, and we're now into the pit stops, and now we go on to the set of medium tyres, the yellow wall. Perez was fighting Lando Norris up the road. We've actually caught a bit of time on the pit lane entry, I think, versus Sergio Perez, so we may have a chance to battle Perez and Lando Norris as well for what will be P4, I think, by the end of this race, which I think is not too bad. Obviously, because it's a brand new circuit on the F1 game, I have kind of got the AI a lot lower than I maybe usually would do, just so that we can actually get a good feel of the racing in terms of the racecraft, you know, where you're able to go side by side and whatnot. So let's see now. We're chasing after, well, Russell is in the way of myself and Perez here, but he's still yet to pit in this Grand Prix. So we go chasing after. He's slow on the exit there. Obviously, he's still feeling the tyre wear maybe on those soft combat tyres. Good run off that left-hander, and we're able to seal the deal with a bit of ERS usage, but the Williams actually pretty handy in straight line, of course, and it gives me a good run. Eventually, we will finish off that move and then focus on to Sergio Perez and this man Lando Norris, who comes out just ahead of Perez then in P4 on what is an awkward pit lane exit. That also might be, you know, a contentious point, because you're going to come out not straight on the racing line, but nearly on the racing line, so that might be quite juicy in real life at times. But now this section, as I've said before, just about modulating the throttle and trying to not scrub off too much speed. That's basically the name of the game at a lot of these corners at Saudi Arabia, I'm noting. Just, it's all about not scrubbing speed off. There's no, yeah, there's a couple of massive brake zones, but really a lot of it is just modulating throttle, which I don't know. I don't know if it's actually going to produce good racing or not in real life. In the game, of course, it's different because it's the game. The game always produces better racing than in real life sometimes, a lot of circuits, even if it doesn't have the pedigree. But we get Perez with a lovely little move that was quite aggressive with the use of ERS on the outside before that quick right and then left-hander, and now we're on the back of the McLaren straight away. But Perez is sticking with me, and you can see there, snap of oversteer. The corner may look easy, but you have to be very careful by going a bit too early on the throttle, because you're going at such good speeds. It's easy to lose the back end if there's a bit of a, you know, twitch on the rear end. And I guess that's what you get for having, you know, the quote-unquote fastest street circuit is it's a street circuit, but you're going at such high speed, so if you make a little twitch, usually what would be, you know, just a bit of a wobble could be a massive spin now, because you're going at such breakneck speeds as we now look to overtake Lando Norris now around the outside. He's a bit defensive in turn one, a lot defensive actually, more so than maybe some of the other cars, so we have to actually finish off the move in the right-hander, and then Perez gets a good run and may even overtake him into the next section. So Perez will be the one annoying us at the end of this Grand Prix, and the Red Bull maybe has a bit more ERS. I've got, you know, just over 10% now in single digits. So Perez is looking to make a run on us with DRS, of course. We're a sitting duck essentially now as we are on the inside line. Perez around the outside fully of us. We kind of on purpose don't fight him too much to get the better exit to maybe swing back through on the right hand side, but Perez just tucks in on ahead of us, and well, obviously into this section, near impossible to make an overtake. That corner, you just cannot try and make a move, because the outside portion of the circuit is so tight there that if you're going to try and make a move, you're just going to fully go off and extend the track and get a penalty for going off circuit, basically. Or I guess, you know, the FIA kind of showed at the Brazilian Grand Prix, maybe they're not taking track limits too seriously these days by going off whilst you're fighting other cars, eh? But anyway, we continue to fight Sergio Perez into the hairpin on towards the last lap of the Grand Prix. This is meanwhile up the road, Bottas setting the fast up the Grand Prix, just overtaking Hamilton. Verstappen leads the way. We've got a good run this time onto the last lap. DRS open, squeeze Perez in, and then get to, well, just about the apex turn one, miss it a little bit. But now it's all about trying to save ERS for the end of the lap here as Norris attacks Perez. But here we are then, coming through to the end of our very first race around Jeddah at Saudi Arabia. Now, obviously, I know there's plenty of off-track things to discuss about going to Saudi Arabia and Jeddah, but in terms of the actual track to play on the F1 game, actually, I did find it quite enjoyable, you know. There were a few awkward moments here and there, but it is a very flowing circuit, actually, and I must say, visually speaking, in the game, very, very pretty. Under the floodlights, gorgeous. Whether it looks anything like this in real life, I don't know, because it seems like they're very behind schedule in terms of making it in time for the real life Grand Prix. But on the game, very, very pretty. And yeah, I mean, there was some good racing there. You got to admit, you know, with the side-by-side moments. But obviously on the game with the AI, there's always some good racing to be had on no matter what circuit. But I think it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out in career mode, maybe in my team. You know, with a longer race, 50% maybe, with even more tyre wear potentially. And obviously anytime there's any new content or a new track in the F1 game, it's exciting. So let me know what you guys made of it in terms of, you know, watching this, and then if you tried it for yourselves, what do you guys make of it in terms of the racing itself? If you guys did enjoy the video, then hit that like button. If you're new around here, then do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. But yeah, that was our first look at Saudi Arabia in the F1 game, and that's, I think, well, the final track DLC we've been told for F1 2021. I don't know if there's plans, I assume there were plans to do eventually the F2 DLC for this is F2 cars, but that is not in this update, so I don't know whether there's going to be a fourth major patch in December maybe as the final bit of overall DLC. I don't know, I guess we'll see. But anyway, till next time guys, hope you enjoy your day. Goodbye.